All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first match of the warm-up match. I just got to get the titles up there real quick. There you go. Basetradetv, welcome. This is Rifkin. I'm casting today with Nathanius, or Root Nathanius, however you want to refer to him. Say hello, dude.
Hello.
And spawning here in the top left corner of the map, representing Team Complexity, it's your pink Zerg player, Sasquatch.
And his opponent in the bottom right position as the yellow Protoss player from, so he said StarCraft Ascension. I never actually knew what SCA stood for, but his name is AiuR.
Well, a lot of people confuse SCA to mean all in because that's what a lot of their Zerg players are renowned for on the ladder.
Oh, yeah.
But,
I hit these guys all the time.
Yep. It's kind of an unfortunate thing, too, because I'm friends with a lot of the team players, and you've got, like, AiuR, you've got AiuR, these unknown Protosses who, they actually do very well in the macro game. The whole team doesn't rely on cheese, but a couple bad apples, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of cool, though. You know, you get your little groups, together on BNet, go destroy the ladder under one tag, and they are relatively high up on the ladder, so it's nice to have a team with such active players, really.
Well, and I think a fair picture to point here, too. For those who don't know, AiuR has been pretty much top 50 GM every season for as long as I've known this guy. So this isn't a pushover for Sasquatch. Sasquatch is this amazing player. We saw him on the main stage of MLG. We've seen him compete in a lot of live events, and he's a good player all around. But the sad reality is, AiuR's not too bad, but unfortunately, he's not known at all.
Yeah, that's one of the more difficult things about being, I guess, in the foreign scene at this point. There's so much you have to compete with, and I have to say, I don't know if any SCA players have really made it out and grabbed that spotlight yet. So, just comes down to a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. I assume we're going to see this guy in the qualifiers for next season of WCS, but even that it's quite difficult. So, you make a very good point in saying that it's very, very hard to become known. But it looks like this game he's opening up relatively standard.
Yep. There's actually, you know what, there's a lot of debate between my Protoss friends who are like, look, you open Gateway, if you don't do anything with it, why not just go Forge Fast Spin? Heck, Puck, someone who'll be playing here later today, if you guys ever watch him stream, says the same sentiment often from time to time. And, I mean, I kind of like the Forge Fast Expand. In Wings of Liberty, I was like, this is boring, this is stupid, why would anyone do that? Then HOTS hit, we got a little bit of Gateway mix-up, but I think that only really lasts for a month or two because a lot of Zerg players realized how to hold off that very early aggression.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we have had that Gateway expand pop up so much more. But even the best of the best still generally do cling to that Forge opening, so you can't really fault him for that. Sasquatch, in the meantime, is playing a relatively standard, safe way. Of course, the Overlord knows this expansion timing, so we should see a pretty fast third base overall on this map. I don't know if I can really say that any particular strategy will be stronger for the other player. Obviously, I think some units like the Swarm Host can be quite strong later on, just because this is kind of a laney map. This map is lanes. It's good for counterattacks, good for run-bys, but it's very narrow, I guess is my point.
Well, to that extent, too, one thing that's become really popular, not just in this matchup, but I feel in all Protoss versus anything matchups, is people have been incorporating Phoenixes a lot. And when you go for the Forge opening like this, no, it doesn't guarantee it's going to be Stargate, but it leaves the option to go for it very economically, very soundly, and not have to worry about not having gas to produce units.
Yeah. I think it's probably been one of the longest standing styles of openings from Protoss players since about halfway through Wings of Liberty, opening up with those Phoenix. Once the Forge expand really got popular, that it looks like Sasquatch this game has gone for a relatively fast gas at the natural. No third base despite scouting this Nexus timing. So with a robotics facility on the way for AiuR, Sasquatch is not yet aware of this. It looks like he's maybe just trying to play this really safe. We'll have to see if he's going to throw in something like a Roach Warren or maybe double Evolution Chamber, but a second Probe Scout comes out from AiuR to check for that third, and he's not actually going to make it over there. He doesn't know.
And that's really unfortunate because it's very important, especially when you open with a Forge. You expect your Protoss opponent to go for that quick third. That is the standard response. Anything other than that, and you should be worried.
Yeah, but there's the double Evolution Chamber, so it looks like Sasquatch, he wants to play this. And I can't really say it's more of a safer way of playing than taking a third base because he's just being greedy in a different way rather than going for the third. He just wants the upgrades. But AiuR is going to start up his own +1. He has an Observer coming out. So it doesn't look like he wants anything really crazy like a super fast Immortal Rush. We'll have to see if he does choose to make a second Observer. But
Well, I don't know if this factored into Sasquatch's thoughts. We were talking about the Gateway expand, and one of the big things about it is it allows you to hit with those like 3 or 4 zealots with the Mothership Core with the goal of just knocking down your opponent's third. So by playing in this sort of almost reverse style, it prevents that from happening. But as we saw, it was a forge, and Sasquatch saw that, so I can't say that that 100% factored into this.
Yeah, it's kind of it's just weird because I feel like he could have gotten away with it so much easier, and he is taking it now. Not a huge deal.
That's a lot of gateways coming down.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
gonna be 6, total of 7.
Actually, a good point. The Immortal coming out, too.
Yeah. This is going to hit hard. And Sasquatch, while he does have the Evolution Chambers going with tech, what he lacks is a lot of units on the field. And, oh boy, immediately, a bunch of Spine Crawlers coming down. The perfect response.
Yeah, he saw all those gateways building inside the main base, so he doesn't need to see the robo to know what's coming. He's like, okay, well, you obviously don't have a third base at this point if you're building this many gateways. So this is a nice setup for Sasquatch. The real question though is what does he do behind this, because there's no way he's going to be able to keep the third base with the current positioning on these Spine Crawlers, and he's starting an Infestation Pit. Is he just gonna go for something like Swarm Host to defend himself? I don't know that an Infestation Pit is really going to. I don't know. This is going to be interesting.
For sure. I gotta tell you, one of my favorite like Protoss cracking strategies I've seen in recent days, when you go for these big sentry pushes early on, whether it's with Immortals or just gateway units, Snoot! He goes for like Baneling drops. He just Bane rains on the sentries, and it is so cool to watch because it's so darn effective. But sadly, that's not what we're seeing. As you said, the Infestation Pit is just, it's so different, I think, is a good way to phrase that.
Yeah. Very different. And well, now AiuR's moving out. Of course, this is pretty much like a classic Sentry Immortal push. The only difference is he did open up with the Observer.
Oh, okay, so it's going to be Infestors. Pathogen Glands coming out. Ling's going to come in from behind, try and perhaps bait out some force fields. AiuR did wall off at home, so no chance of an easy run by.
Yeah, this is weird. The Lings are trying to move in and try to spend these force fields, getting a somewhat decent surround on these forces, but you know, those force fields are just too much, and
well, I like that AiuR didn't overreact there. I was expecting a full bubble to come down, but only 4 force fields. Not what Sasquatch was hoping to bait out of that. But oh my god, Nathanius, this is so many Spine Crawlers that he's going to have to go through.
Yeah, I don't really know if he can go up this ramp. The Immortals tank well, but there is so much firepower here. If he gets too close, especially, the Zerglings are going to be able to come in.
Behind. He can recall. Oh no, he can't. He used the Time Warp. No more recall available. He's going to go full in with this. Lings in the front are struggling, but man, oh man, AiuR's losing quick.
Yeah, you know what? That was just a perfect stop on this attack by Sasquatch. And you know what? He didn't even lose his third base. He could join up behind this. And look at this. He's even building a hive.
How many Spine Crawlers did he even lose? Like 2? I mean, one of them is still very low, but I didn't really see many, if any, die.
Yeah, I don't know. He's down to 6 now, so I think he lost maybe 2. I think that might have been an accurate assessment. Aside from that, just 44 Lings, and that's it. There's just this Warp Prism with the 2 Sentries, a Zealot, and a Stalker. But what can it really do?
Well, he managed to save one of just about everything, but only temporarily, because that fungal is going to lock this down.
Yeah, and no escape there. I mean, at the very least, AiuR knows that there's a hive, but what can he really do about it at this point? He has a lot of gateways. He can warp in units. He can build Immortals, but it's not like Roaches are going to be on the menu. He could just go straight for Ultralisks at this point, in all honesty, and I guess that might, in a weird way, make Immortals work again, but...
You know, I like the assessment of Ultras, but I gotta say, looking at the resources lost, the fact that Sasquatch not only lost almost no Spine Crawlers, but almost, as well, no Lings, he might just flood Lings to win this game, Ling Infestor.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, he could honestly do almost anything. This wall is here, technically, for AiuR, so breaking through will be quite difficult, but... Yeah, I don't know. I guess right now his goal should be to just join up third base. I don't think he wants to get too ahead of himself, because I feel like getting some drones to the third would probably help him more than anything. Maybe even take a fourth base. He has the Overlord Poop and Creep on the third of AiuR. AiuR can't really do anything. He's bunching up more units, and it looks like he's just going to go for a secondary attack, but the Overseer actually spots this move out. He knows. He has the tower as well.
This is great, because the Ultra Cavern that you talked about earlier, it's on the way, but again, I kind of feel like the game's not going to get to that point, because all Sasquatch has to do is crush this push, and all of a sudden a Protoss on 2 bases who's dedicated this much to this, if AiuR doesn't take down a base, AiuR's going to be so far behind, I honestly don't see him coming back. But if he causes enough damage, he could push through. This is a hell of a lot of Zealots with +1 upgrades.
Yeah, he is actually a really powerful army, but this is where the Infestors become useful. Just throw it on the Fungal Growths, just
fungals.
whittle down this army. He can't really do anything about it. He just keeps fungling him. He's trying to use force fields, but look at that. Sentry's now dying as well. He will warp into more, and I have to say the Protoss player's supply, AiuR does have an equal amount of supply, which generally favors the Protoss player, but now the Ultralisks are going to start coming out. The Immortals will still do very well versus them.
But the big thing about the Immortals
it's going to be tough.
Or, sorry, not even the Immortals, the Ultras, they crush force fields, and a lot of people forget this, so we might see AiuR bank on force fields to keep his units alive, and the Ultras are just going to be like, LOL? I mean, what can you do against that?
Yeah, not much. This is actually a really weird situation because this attack, if he goes in, if he engages this perfectly, I feel like he might even have a weird chance. But with 2-2 finishing, he might have taken a little bit too long. It's just 20 seconds away from that 2-2. The Ultralisks are coming out. The first one has completed, but it's only got 1-1. No chitinous plating. The third base will fall. And AiuR's equalized the bases. This is a very weird situation where we have the high versus the 2 base, but he's coming in now, getting us around the force field's gonna try to block him out.
They are good, but there are the fungals on top of this. The Ultras crushing the ones in front, and the Daniels, we just see that a flood of lings, a flood of fungals. Good game is called, and Sasquatch will take game 1.
Just a good hold, in all honesty. It's very, very rare that a Protoss player goes for the 2 base Immortal Sentry push, loses everything. The Warp is alive, but at that point, you know, at the cost of everything else, there's no way you're going to be able to come back and win that. I will say, though, he put up probably the best possible follow-up, which was to just ball up your forces and go for another big attack.
Well, I gotta get the second map underway. Sorry, the stream took a blip there. I was a little afraid it went down. Guys, if anything's off at this point, please let me know so I can fix it. That was a weird